Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. It's Monday, September 20th, 2021. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. I hope everyone's enjoying their Monday. Okay, so hello and welcome. Again, I'm Solid Blue Sister, and today I want to talk about stereotypes. And this is a show that I did before I transferred over to Podbean. And it was a little, that particular show had a little different flavor to it. And I was mainly, talking about Black stereotypes, but today I want to talk about all stereotypes. Have they helped or harmed? I want to talk about how stereotypes came to be. How many people have they harmed? How many people have they helped? I would like to have, thoughts on this because when you look at stereotypes, you look at the definition of a stereotype. And one definition, could be that where you're generalizing a belief about a particular category of people. Okay. And then we can talk about how stereotypes also ascribe to collective characteristics associated with a particular group to every member of that group, where you discount individual characteristics. So that's another definition. So you may think, all people with, blue eyes are tall. Well, is that necessarily true? Maybe a percentage of people with blue eyes are tall, but does that mean all people with blue eyes are tall? All people with brown eyes are short. Is that true? Well, no, because there are people with brown eyes who are short. There are some people who are with brown eyes who are tall. There are some people with brown eyes who are medium height. So, exactly what is a stereotype and how do they come to be? And there are some people who are just so ingrained in stereotypes that no matter what you say or whatever, they're going to believe it. Now, some people may say that there's some truth to stereotypes. Okay, I'll say that could be true, but how did these stereotypes come to be? Who created these stereotypes? You have to go back and you have to look at the origins of stereotyping. You can look at it where you can say people who ride motorcycles, that they're part of gangs, that they're violent. Well, I know people who ride motorcycles that aren't gangs, that aren't violent. I mean, I know people who drive cars, that are violent, that are in gangs. When people look at gangs, they want to say that most gangs are black. That's not true. What is it? Then you have to go to what is the definition of a gang. So when you look at stereotypes, you know, we were talking about terrorists a couple of shows ago, and someone made a very good point that when you use the word terrorist, you have to be careful of how you use that word. And I agree. And I think that when you stereotype, hello, OJ28, I think that when you stereotype, you have to be careful of how you stereotype. So, as we were talking again in a previous show, where again, someone said that when you use the word terrorist and you ascribe it to a certain group of people, you have to be careful. And I believe that you need to be careful when you stereotype. So again, you know, what is the definition of a stereotype? Hello, Juju. You know, again, there are just so many definitions out there, and if you give one definition, okay, let me put it like this. I just said that some people say that stereotypes are gangs. Okay, so what is the definition of a gang? I mean, a gang could be a, you know, group of kids who hang out after school and play volleyball. Um, some people think, when you look up the definition of gang, some people say it's an organized group of criminals. Um, a number of people can form a group or a gang. So, is a group of people a gang? Um, all right. Sorry, please come again. Come again on what? Oh, OJ. I don't want to lose anybody here. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Are you? Oh, our topic. Okay. I'm talking about stereotypes. Have they helped or harmed? How did stereotypes come to be? That's okay. How many people have they harmed? How many people have they helped? I just want your thoughts on what stereotypes are, and um, are stereotypes fair? Do you think that some stereotypes have some element of truth? You know, why do people stereotype? I mean, we have stereotypes in so many different areas of our society that, again, do they help or do they harm? I mean, you look at Muslims. I mean, after 9/11, people want to say that, and we were talking about this last week. Some people want to say that Muslims are terrorists. To me, that's a stereotype because that's not true. But or some people with COVID, they want to say that you see someone, that's Asian, you automatically assume they're from China, or some people do, and the first thing you want to say is, you brought COVID here. Um, you look at African Americans or people of African descent. You're violent and you steal. So how did these stereotypes come to be? Why do we have them? Yes, you can call in. I will send you an invite. You can always let me send you an invite. There you go. Whenever you're ready. So, how did these stereotypes come to be? I mean, some people, they look at uh, Latinos or Mexicans, whatever, and they think that they're, lazy. You know, um, some people think, Black people are lazy. So again, what is a stereotype to you? And do you think they're fair? Do they think do you think they're rooted in truth? Um, I don't know. So OJ, I see I'm connected with you, but I don't see where you're on. Do you need me to send you another invite? Here, let me send this over again and see what we have. There we go. I sent you another one. So, you know, that's what I would really like to know. I would really like your opinion on what you think a stereotype is, and do you think it has helped or do you think it has harmed? You know, when you look at stereotypes about women, you know, women are supposed to be fragile and delicate. There are things that they can't do. For a long time, people thought that women were, they weren't smart enough to vote. The only thing that women were supposed to do is stay home and have babies and clean the house. Now you have women who are CEOs, presidents of companies or prime ministers or whatever you want to call them. There are some very powerful women. So, okay, OJ, I see where it says call ended. So I'm just assuming, okay, he is out. So maybe he's having some connection problems. Okay, so, these are things that I would really like to know. So, Juju, I'm going to put you on the spot here, typing, of course, in the chat. What do you think? I mean, do you think that some stereotypes are rooted in truth, or do you think that they are, just things that people made up to, benefit their own agenda? And here is OJ, saved by the bell, Juju. Okay, OJ, you are on. Or maybe not. Let me look at this. Okay. I will keep going. And when you look at gender stereotypes, it's like how, do they affect people, or, age stereotyping. I mean, there's just so many types of stereotypes out there. Um, and a lot of them, in my opinion, I think they harm. They do more harm than they help. So let me just type this to OJ. I have brought out a few broad headings. Okay. Okay. So I'd love for you to come on if you're able. It looks like you're having some connection problems, but I'd love for you to come on and talk if you're able. Okay, let me do this again. Yes, there you are. There you are. You are on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. Okay. A couple of things which you brought out regarding the stereotypes and gangs. Okay, for one, stereotype is, I mean, I what I personally feel is that if I have my my discipline, if I maintain my discipline, or my regimental approach to life, he'll call me stereotype. For example, I recall you saying that your father was in the was or is in the army. So
No, my no
he
my dad was not in the army. My dad was a mail carrier.
okay, in the military. Is that right?
No, my dad was a mail carrier. He was a postal worker.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry. So
That's okay.
I misunderstood. Yeah. So people in the army they're very regimental and very disciplined, and they lead a very disciplined life. So if like my grandfather, he was in the army, and and through him, my dad, he maintained a very regimental kind of life. For me, as I was growing up, I found that to be very strict. Like, you got to have your meals at the particular time, you got to have your shower at this particular time, you got to sit with your books at this particular time. Everything we had to run according to the clock. So yeah, and somehow that thing has got infused in me. So when I'm doing this, I find myself to be very rigid and kind of kind of maintaining the time. So becoming becoming rigid, or maintaining a particular discipline, which somebody else might not approve of.
But is
So
that
I
but
mean,
is that a but is that a stereotype, or is that just you following a particular daily routine, that you're rigid and disciplined in following a routine, or is that a stereotype?
okay, stereotype is in the sense, my dad learned it from his father, and now I've learned it even though I was against it, but then I've learned that from my father. So it's kind of it can call it a stereotype, and at the same time, the stereotype it can be rigid. For me, it might not be rigid, but then for others, when I'm going out with my friends, I have to be okay. This is my dinner time. This is my time to sleep. This is my time to eat, or whatever. So I maintain that, and but my friends, they might not. So they find me very rigid, but then that is in me. That is the stereotype, a kind of a life, which I'm comfortable with.
Okay, so OJ, let me ask you this: what is your
Mm.
definition of a stereotype?
Stereotype means like doing things as per the clock,
Okay, that's okay.
repeating and doing things as per the clock. That is one aspect of it. The other aspect is, if I'm a notorious guy, I can follow a particular discipline to attack or to harm people, or do whatever, so something evil. So whenever I'm doing certain thing in a pattern, it becomes a stereotype for somebody else, not for me.
Okay, but generally, a stereotype is when you assume that a particular group of people act a particular way. That's
Yeah.
that's what
So
that's what a stereotype is. So when I say a particular group of people act a certain way, that's when I say that. Like, for instance, some people, I'm pretty sure you've heard this term before, that some people say that, blondes, women who are blondes are, dumb, and
Yeah.
that's not, and that's not true, or all black people steal, or Irish people, they're all drunks. A stereotype is when you're assuming something
Okay.
about a total group of people. That's why I was asking, are
Okay.
you talking about discipline, or are you talking about stereotypes? Because it seems like you're talking about
Okay.
being disciplined.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I've got it clear now. The stereotype and the discipline thing. I've got it. I've got the differences sorted out.
Okay, but
Okay.
I will say you did give me an idea for another show about discipline. That's a very good topic. So let me ask you. So now that you kind of know the difference, do you think
Hmm.
that stereotypes, harm people, or do you think they help people? I mean, you know, is it right to assume that an entire group of people are a certain way when they probably are not?
Yeah, agree with you. I agree with you. Like the second thing, what you had mentioned about the Mexican or the Latin American people are lazy.
Mm-hmm.
This is again, if you got to see, as you might be aware that I'm from India,
Mm-hmm.
and in India I'm from a place is called Bengal, and
Mm-hmm.
in Bengal it is a saying that amongst all the other Indians, they say that Bengalis are are the laziest people. One, two is, and the reason is for Bengalis the staple diet is rice. So after we have rice in for lunch, we tend to doze off in the afternoon for siesta or whatever. Okay, now this is something which I totally disagree. I do have rice for lunch, but I do not. But I do not sleep or doze off in the afternoon. I'm busy at work, for one. Two is the reason why do we feel this lethargic, or the tiredness, or we tend to doze off. The reason is the weather here is so hot and humid. So when you have rice, the carbohydrate gets into your when it once it gets into the system. It tend to and with the heat and humidity, we we tend to kind of slow down the pace a bit. But then again, yeah, and once you slow down, for people who all work in private organizations. We need to we have to work for a living. It's not a government job where it can sleep, it can take a siesta at work. That thing that doesn't happen. So the other people from Bengal who are working in the government organizations, they tend to take a quick nap. But for us, people who are working in private organizations, we cannot. So even after having rice, we still work. So I keep
Mm-hmm.
generalizing the thing that we Bengalis are lazy, or the Mexicans, or the Latin Americans are lazy. I do not agree with that. We got to see why are these guys doing. Mexico, Latin America,
But
their
okay,
their
but
their
let me
weather
interrupt
is
you.
our weather is almost the same.
But is it okay? But whether it's the weather or not, it's like to generalize and to say that Indian people are lazy, or Latino people are lazy. I mean, that's just wrong. It's you're just
Yeah,
assuming,
yeah,
and you're and
yeah.
so. But why do you think those stereotypes came to be? Why do you think that people begin to think like that, and it's something that has stuck? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that people started to say that, and it's something that just stuck?
That is because okay, if I'm talking to you on one, you tell me, and then I'll give you the explanation. So for you, I hope that I'm able to just convince you why. But then if you go to see overall, there are millions of people who all say, okay, this particular group of people, they are very lazy, they are very bad, they are very ferocious, or they're very vengeful. So and so at that time, I cannot be talking to you, and so since I've spoken to you, and you're convinced, that it doesn't mean that the entire world is convinced. Another example I'm giving you. This is, I mean, I have a very close and good Muslim friend, very good Muslim friend, and we were in school, right from school to college, and then even after college, and then we worked together, and his parents kind of treat me as their son, and my parents in treat this friend of mine as my brother. So that's how close we are. But then when this 9/11 happened, or any of this and this terrorist activities takes place, it cannot say that all Muslims are bad.
No, 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 you
No,
can't. But that's
uh,
what. But after 9/11, you had
uh,
stereotyping, and people started to say that
exactly.
they're terrorists and they're this, and that's not true.
That
That's
exactly
furthest from the truth.
that Yeah, that exactly, that is my point. So we cannot generalize. So stereotyping people is not right at all. I mean, I totally disagree with it. All the four fingers of the hand are not the same. Just because of a handful of people who are doing this nuisance, it cannot generalize them, the entire community.
No, 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 you can't. A couple of years ago, well, not a couple of years ago, I probably say about 7 years ago, when I was in Chicago visiting my parents. It was during the wintertime, and I had a scarf over my head. Now, I'm African
Mm.
American. I am not Muslim. I'm not Islam or anything, but I was cold. I was cold. It was cold outside.
Right,
And I had a scarf
right.
wrapped around my head and then around my neck. And someone came up
Mm.
to me, and they just assumed that I was Muslim. And I'm like, what? So now people can't walk around with a scarf on their head without people assuming something? I mean, it's just, I mean, seriously though, I mean, it's just crazy. Or running up to Asian people and saying, go back to China. It's like, first of all, I may not be from China. I could be from the Philippines. I could be from Japan.
Mm.
Don't
Mm.
don't assume. And
Exactly.
just these stereotypes. And again, I'm African American, and I have a lot of white people who say to me, you probably voted for Obama. Well, actually, I was never really an Obama fan until the last part of his presidency. So don't assume just
Mhm.
because I'm black that I voted for the black guy. So
that it just goes on to, this goes on to prove how shallow people's thinking or the thought process is. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. And it is shallow. So again, when you look back in history,
Hmm.
why do you think stereotypes are able to get the traction that they do? Why do you think that people um, come up with these stereotypes and they stick? Some people say that because there's some truth to it. I tend to disagree. And where do stereotypes come from? Who created these stereotypes, and why are they
See,
always negative?
see the my in my short I mean thinking, or I could be wrong. uh, I just remembered one example, which a professor had taught us in college while doing my MBA. Sorry, I'm just deviating from your point, but I'll come back to your point. He had brought a small white board uh, with him to the class, and it was not that big, but well, it wasn't small either. So and he cleaned the whiteboard in front of us, and then he took a marker pen, and he put a spot on the board. That's it. So the entire whiteboard, it had a black spot on it. And then he started explaining, what do you all see? So the entire class obviously said that, well, sir, we can see a white spot on the board. And he says, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you all, and get this. I was expecting this as answer. So he started off with saying that entire board is white. Nobody notices the entire board, but then there's a small little minuscule of a dot on the board, which which has attracted the entire attention of all the students. Then he said that this is how it is. We tend to forget what we are seeing, but then one little spot which is there, that thing sticks out like a sore thumb. And that is the one which attracts all the attention. So if I can come back to your question, this is the same thing. What is happening? Just as a handful of people who are being destructive to the society, it doesn't mean that the entire society is bad. Am I able to explain to you,
No, no,
or
no, no. I no, no. I was about to comment, and that's what I mean when I say, when people stereotype, you have to be very careful, because a whole group of people, can be harmed by it, and the way society sees them can be negative. And that's
exactly?
been happening for years and years and years and years. And it's just not cool.
And the other thing, is Juju an Indian, or she's from where? Before
Juju,
I
do you
go.
want to say where you are from? Hello, Kimmis. How are you? Juju, do you want to say where you're from? She's from Boston.
Okay, okay, great. So what okay, I'm sorry to ask you this, but then see what is happening right now in our country. We India is a huge country with about 28. different states, and in each state have their own culture, own language, right? And even as regards to the appearance also, everyone, we can make out that which person is from which region by the appearance, the appearance, the culture, the languages, customs, everything is different. We were staying in good harmony, and with everyone gelled with everybody. But of late, I see that because of the government's few policies, we are now we don't see uh, everyone eye to eye. Moment I talk to somebody and ask him, what is your name? And they say Mohammed something. Oh, he's a Muslim guy, so I'll stay away from him. I ask
Okay,
somebody.
okay, but again, that is stereotyping. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
okay, so again, I want to say I want to go back to one of my original questions. Hello, shy lady. I want to go back to one of my original questions. Is how do you think stereotypes have come to be, and how have they helped or how have they harmed people?
See, stereotypes have come into being because of again of our shallow this knowledge, information, or for that matter, we want to segregate or highlight and remove uh, one society, one group of people of a particular society. So that is how the stereotype have come into being, and
Okay,
that
well,
is
okay, let me ask this. For a long time, India was under British rule. Do you
right.
find that the British stereotype the Indian people?
Uh, it was there, but then the Britishers left India about 300 years back. Things have kind of what has been erased to a large extent. But now the same thing has been brought into place. The British, they had the stupid or the I mean, I shouldn't say stupid, but the infamous policy of divide and rule. So they did that to a certain extent, and but then unfortunately we understood we understood this trick. So we moved on, and then kicked out the Brits. But
Okay.
and then we kind of we all lived together in harmony as one. But now again the same thing has been brought in today's date.
Okay, well let me throw it out to someone else. Does anyone else have an opinion about stereotypes? I know most of you missed what I was saying at the beginning, but does anyone else have any comments about stereotypes? And I don't mean just stereotypes in terms of race. I'm talking about gender. I mentioned how women were stereotyped at one time that the only thing we're supposed to do is stay home and cook and have babies. Does anyone else have anything to add in terms of stereotypes and how they came to be, how they have affected you, or personally or at work or something like that? So, does anyone else have anything that they'd like to say? Shy Lady. Okay, OJ, hold on. We're going to let Shy Lady come on.
Mhm.
All right, I
Okay.
am going to mute you while she comes on. I always mute when people are talking. Okay, Shy Lady. All right. Not sure what happened to Shy Lady there. Okay, so let me ask this. I'm going to throw this out here while Shy Lady. Here, let me send you an invite and see if you can come on that way. There you go. Um, okay, there's Shy Lady.
Hello, everyone. To answer your question, I think that stereotypes have probably affected every ethnic group. And I'll give you an example of a stereotype. I think I may have mentioned it to you before. One of the many that I've encountered, but a stereotype that happened to me when I was working a few years ago, back in the 80s. There was a man at my job. This is when I briefly worked at the radio station after I left the telecom company that we both worked at. Um, this man had to be, I would say, in his 40s. At the time, I was about 30. He made a comment and said, you black people love chitlins. And I said to him, that's not true for me. I've never had a chitlin in my life. So that's a stereotype. He assumed that because I'm black, I eat chitlins. I had never eaten a chitlin in my life, and I still haven't to this day. So stereotypes negatively affect people, even if you may not be the one giving it out or whatever. They affect people. Did it bother me? It bothered me, but I looked at it more so as him being ignorant than it really bothering me. It's just like if someone called me the N-word, I don't consider myself that. I don't get offended. Some people may fight. Some black people may fight when they hear the word, but the person who emitted from their mouth is the one that's a fool and ignorant, because it shows how classless you are to try to pull someone down because you think you are superior to them. And there were situations where I've had the name called to me before, and I literally would look at the person and say, are you serious? Do you know how you look? Do you know how you look? And you calling me a name? Look at yourself. Go look in the mirror and see how you look. And then
Shy
I would
Lady, no, I'm listening to you because you're making me do another show here.
Okay.
You're making me do another show, but that's how my shows always go. Okay, all right. So I'm going to have to disagree with you because we've talked on a number of occasions, personally, about people calling people the N-word and things like that. And you see these videos that are out here. And while I agree with you up to a point about where you don't get upset or get mad, but by you just saying,
let me say this, I have to make that correction. I do get upset. I do, because it's like, how dare you allow that to come out of your mouth? I mean, some of the most, and I hate to use these words, but fat, out of shape, ugly, trashy looking, rotten teeth people have the nerve to say that word. And I'm like, are you serious? Go look in the mirror and look at yourself.
Okay, so this is where I say, you see these videos where these black people are starting to literally give people beat downs, and it's like, is that what is needed now? That it's not just turning the other cheek, it's not just saying, are you serious, whatever, but seriously, like saying, I'm going to teach you not to say this word. I mean, has it gotten to that point where now, like Roland Martin says, you're going to mess with the wrong black person and you're going to say that, and this is what's going to happen.
For me, I can use words that will cut a person that says that word to me to the bone. Seriously. I don't have to lay a finger or a hand on a person. I will tear them down from cell to cell. Seriously. And I've done it.
True. So you look at these stereotypes and, to me, it just seems like stereotypes started to bring people down. They are created to make people feel less than, because you rarely see a positive stereotype. They're usually negative, and they're usually directed towards people of color, whether they be Asian, whether they be of African descent, whether they, be Indian, whether they be Muslim, Latino, Native American, is always seems to be directed to people with darker skin tones. Why do you think that is? And anybody can answer that, if anybody wants to, but to me, I just see that, even, before, when I say, you look at stereotypes, when people say gangs, when people say gangs, the first thing they do is they think of Black people. Well, there are white gangs, there are Latino gangs, they have Asian gangs, there are Italian gangs, you have the mafia, which is a gang, you have the cartel, which is a gang. And Shy Lady says people have been programmed to believe being white is superior. Okay, who programmed who program people? So the media, okay, but the media wasn't around the way it is 100 years ago. The media wasn't around like it is, 50 years ago, or even 20 years ago. So when you say the media, we were being stereotyped, back in the 19th century, 17th century. Stereotypes have been around for years, and and people believing white is superior. That goes back centuries upon centuries upon centuries. That goes back to the time of Queen Isabella, Columbus, and the media was not around then. So why is there a need to stereotype? I mean, you look at what's going on in America. You look at people wanting to say voter fraud. This group of people is creating voter fraud. One person started that, and look at where we are in less than a year. That's when slaves were around. Sorry for saying this. I mean that you have a point. So you just look at stereotyping, and to me, is to fit an agenda to, for the most part, make more people powerful. And yes, you have stereotypes against white people, but are they as damaging as they are against people of color? I mean, to the point where you look at what happened on January 6th, and you have one station talking about Fox. They didn't even broadcast any of that. When January 6th was going on, Fox TV was not broadcasting it at all. Instead, they're talking about something else, but they want to turn around and broadcast that the people who were in January 6th were Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And of course, that, the right, they took that and they ran with it. Not to say that, again, there have been stereotypes against white people, but the majority of the harmful ones whether or not people believe that they're rooted in truth or not, is damaging to people of color, where it has harmed them financially, socially, and in some cases, it has killed them. So does anyone want to comment on what I've said? You want to disagree with me? You want to agree with me? Does anyone have anything they want to say? The mic is open to whomever wants to say something. If not, I can keep going. Anyone? Okay, so color is the most distinctive difference. It is. OJ says color is the most distinctive difference, and it is. And it's unfortunate to say that, and that's why I always say, let's be honest. And I will admit, I have stereotyped people. I think we all have. We all have. But for me, as I've gotten older, and and hopefully wiser, you look around and you just see that there's just certain things that you shouldn't do. There's just certain things that you shouldn't say. um because it's hurtful and it's harmful. And when your child gets called a name at school, you tell them, oh, just ignore them, whatever. But sometimes it's hard to ignore. And should it be ignored? So whether you're, giving someone a beat down or you're cutting someone to the core, whatever, I think people should be put on notice that this is not acceptable behavior from you. It needs to stop. That's just like that bully. You tell your child, oh, just ignore them, just ignore them, but the bully keeps, hitting them or messing with them or taking their things or whatever. And sometimes it's the parent that needs to step in. Before my son was homeschooled, my son was prime for being bullied. Prime. And if anyone saw that movie, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, with Rebecca De Mornay, I pulled a Rebecca De Mornay on one particular person, and I went up to that child, and I said some things that I probably should not have said, and I was waiting to be called into the principal's office the next day or their parent to approach me. Nothing ever happened. But that child stopped messing with my son. It's like, if the school's not going to do anything, if your parents and the teacher's not going to do anything, you're going to hear from me. So is that what it takes? Thank you very much, OJ, for liking the show, and everyone else that's liked the show. What is it going to take to, put people in their place and just to say that your view of me is wrong? You're assuming something. I've been followed around in Target, and people have told me, oh, that didn't happen, whatever. Sometimes it takes drastic measures. So what I was saying earlier, when you see these shows, or these tapes of people giving people beat downs, to me, those are drastic measures. And again, like Roland Martin says, one day you're going to mess with the wrong person, and more people are messing with the wrong people. And Chemist says stereotypes are just weapons of divisiveness, and they are also machines with the perpetual engine, because the ability to use them will never die. You're right. So it's like calling a spade and not a shovel. That's true. That is very true. And it's interesting because, like Shy Lady says, the people who are, calling out names, and you look at them and it's like, really? You're going to talk about me? You're going to talk about me and you look like this? Or you're going to call me stupid or dumb, and your education is what? I've talked to people who have told me that, Black people, that we're less educated and what have you. But I'm like, no, because I know a lot of very smart, educated people. I look at my nieces and nephews on both sides, and they either have their masters or they have their PhD. I have one niece who got her master's in 8 months. She went through an accelerated program. She got it at the age of 21, and she's working on her PhD. All of my nieces and nephews on both sides have all traveled and studied abroad. My son was supposed to go to Paris last year, but COVID hit. But he'll have the opportunity to go in 23. So, I know a lot of smart people of color. I know a lot of them. And, if you're going to talk about someone, like they say, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. But it seems like the people who are doing most of the talking are the hypocrites. So I don't know. Only thing that I can say is when people want to throw this at you, you have to throw something back at them because they need to be put in their place. So
I wanted to add to that. Like you say, believe that Black people are not smart. Some people believe that Asians are the smartest race. What people don't realize is a lot of your intelligence or your intellect, it comes not just from genes, genetics, but it also comes from your socioeconomic background, who you have at home that encourages you and motivates you to want to do better, to go higher. And I know that my daughter, where we live, live in Texas. There's a particular part of Texas, North Texas. There are a lot of Asians from Vietnam. And my daughter, and all of my kids went to gifted schools. And I remember there was this one girl who my daughter was friends with. She was in the gifted program. And she later admitted to my daughter after she saw her one day, I think it was like right after COVID had hit. They hadn't been friends since like high school. And she said to her, how are you doing? They were catching up, blah, blah, blah. And when my daughter told her what she was doing, she said, you were always smarter than me. And I had a lot of help. My mother did a lot of things behind the scenes. And my daughter said, and then she was telling me the story. And she said, you know what? I always knew something was funny about her as far as certain grades. She said, because she never scored high, like on tests, not just standardized tests, but some tests in the school. And it always puzzled her, like, how did she get an a C on that particular test we took? And so her mom was really buddy with the teachers, and she admitted to her, she said, and the funny thing is medical school, this Asian girl, and she told her, she said, you were always smarter than me, and I used to have to try so hard. So I say all that to say that people are ignorant. Most people are ignorant because they think that intellect belongs to a certain race, and it doesn't. And, if you want to talk about people, there's also a large number of Nigerians that live in Texas. And people always want to say Black people are not smart, but most of the Nigerian people that went to school with my daughter, they excel at unbelievable rates, higher than some of the Asians as far as medical school, law school, engineers, because in their country, they come over here in America. I've talked to the parents. They come over here and they see the opportunity that's here. They take this and they run with it. Whereas most Americans who have been here all their lives, they don't see the luxury and the privilege it is to be an American and what it takes to be successful here. And when a lot of the Nigerians come in, I'm not going to say all of them because that would be stereotyping as well. But most of the ones that I've been around that grew up with my daughter, they have, they come over here sometimes with triple degrees, and then they have to come back over here and take classes and be cab drivers and things like that because the credits don't transfer. But some of these Nigerians are the brightest people I have ever met in my life because they get it. A lot of them get it. They come over here and they take advantage of the opportunities here. So I don't want to hear anybody ever say anything bad about a Black person not being intellectually bright or whatever, or an Asian person being brighter than someone else, because it is bull. It's straight bull.
But unfortunately, that's what the stereotypes are, that and it always has been that, Asians are, smarter, and when you look at the amount of pressure that Asian people are under, you know, um, I think it just adds to the stereotype. But again, you have stereotypes out there where, Black people were supposed to be dumb, and it's far from it. Just people that I grew up with. I did not grow up with anyone who, in fact, every single person that I can say that I grew up with, that I was friends with, whatever, that I'm still friends with. We all, we're educated. We come from educated people. Our parents were, educated. At least one of our parents, was a college grad or something like that. But, but even if you weren't, even if you didn't go to college, and I'm just talking about Black people, we are very smart people. We are very smart people, and then you look at Latinos, there are a lot of very smart Latinos and Native Americans, Indians. I mean, it's just, again, that stereotype by certain groups of people that want to keep us down. And like OJ said, it's a divisiveness. So, hello, SJ, welcome. So, I mean, I don't know. Does anybody have a comment on that?
I'll make one last comment. I know I talk a lot.
That's okay.
One of the things that has always bothered me is when President Obama and Michelle Obama were, when he was in office, I would read things on comments on websites, even in the media, and they would try to say that, oh, he got into Harvard because of affirmative action. Here you have two Black people. Let's say they did, but they didn't. Let's say they did get into Harvard because of affirmative action. Do you think that's going to keep them there? You're not. Of
course not. You have to do the work. You have to do the work.
You're not going to stay in Harvard and graduate with a law degree and pass the bar. They both passed the bar. The bar is a very hard exam. I don't care what state you take it in. It's known to be a very hard exam. So the fact that both of these, they're probably, besides Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, going to Ivy Leagues, they're probably one of the few American presidents and first ladies who've been this educated and from a probably the best school in the world. And no one talks about that. They want to dismiss that factor, that you have two very bright people, and most of the time the wives are not attorneys. They don't go to Ivy League schools, and in the case of the Bushes, they were the most recent president, before Clinton and the Obamas, and that's not typical of first ladies to be highly educated like Hillary Rodham Clinton and Michelle Obama. And so I just want to say that, because they never give them credit for being as intelligent as they both are.
No, and you are absolutely right. You can say affirmative action, even though I doubt that was it, but you say affirmative action and what have you, and it's like affirmative action did not keep them there. You have to, put in in the work, So when I hear people talk about the Obamas the way that they do and try to discount their their accomplishments, especially in education, I just rack it up to plain old jealousy. Plain old jealousy, that here you have two intelligent people who you know went to good schools, and they did very well, and they succeeded, and I just see it as jealousy. You can't talk about anything else about them, so let's start talking about their education. So once again, you have stereotypes. You can't just say that they were smart enough to get into Harvard. You have to throw in the affirmative action part to taint it. So I don't know. Stereotypes have been around for centuries, and they are going to continue to be around unless and until we start fighting back. Because I do not believe that, when you look at where some stereotypes came from, and some people want to say that, rooted in some, that there's some grain of truth. Let me ask that: does anyone believe that there's some grain of truth? And again, I'm saying a grain. Do you think that there's some grain of truth in stereotypes? Yes. Okay. Such as what, Chemist? Okay. And Shy Lady is saying no. So, Chemist, can you give me an example of where you think that there is some truth into some stereotypes? Can you? And when I say stereotypes, I'm talking about stereotypes that have harmed people, that have hurt people. So, Juju, you're agreeing with Shy Lady, or you're agreeing with Chemist? So, Chemist, can you give me an example? Okay, Chemist wants to come on. There's your invite.
Hey.
Hello, welcome.
Hey. So when I started in the landscaping business, I noticed that a lot of the stereotypes that the white people had, the black people were perpetuating. Like they were living out these stereotypes. I didn't say anything because I'm a people watcher.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say anything. I just watched. And I would tell the guys that work with me, stop doing that. Stop acting like everything that they say you are, you're showing them. Stop doing that. You have to put on a different face, because when they go back home, they tell their friends, they have jokes about you because you're showing them exactly what they heard.
Okay, so Chemist, let me ask you this: don't you think that goes to the other way too? That white people do things
They
that
do.
that they shouldn't do, but it just seems like that we always have to be on our guard, where they can do anything.
The vast majority of their stereotypes aren't necessarily harming them. Like everything that's bad, every stereotype that's said about us is tearing us down.
Yes, it is. But then again, if you look at some of the stereotypes that they, I mean, come on, I mean, if you just look at how just the way some white people think that they're entitled, that they think that they're better than us, and what have you, it may not be tearing them down, but why do we always have to be on guard? Why do we always have to be on our best behavior, but they don't have to be on their best behavior?
Because a lot of times in most situations, they are the as I'll use a job as a reference. They are the bosses and we're the employees.
They are the pursuing bosses, and we are the employees. Because Chemist, I'm gonna tell you one thing. One thing I cannot stand is when I'm out and about and I hear a black person calling a white person boss. That just bothers me. Like yes, yes, boss. That just bothers me because it's it's I don't know.
Right. I absolutely understand. That was one of my biggest problems because I look at people as you're a man, just like I'm a man. Mm-hmm. So if you want me to call you boss, you got to do way more than what you do. Like there's only one boss in my life, and you're not it.
Right. But even though you say that you're, telling the people around you, stop perpetuating whatever. But again, whether or not they're perpetuating a stereotype or not, again, it's like, I just feel like that we're always the ones that always have to be on guard. We're always the ones who have to watch ourselves. Why don't you watch yourself when you say something really ignorant?
If you want, as a whole, if we want society to look at us differently, we got to move differently.
But you're talking about certain people, not us as a whole, because all of us do not move the same way.
Now those are certain people. No, as a society, we are grouped as one person.
But okay, and that's where I'm saying that the stereotypes, and this is where I'm saying the stereotypes are harming, because this group over here may be acting a fool, but this group over here is, we're educated or we have common sense, and we're trying to just live our lives. So go talk to those people over there, but don't group us all in the same category.
No one cares about the people that are doing.
I know.
That's not what society cares about.
And that's the problem. That's the problem that I'm having, because if it were this other group of people and you had one group of people that were acting the fool, they would be able to separate those people. Those people would be over there and the other people would be over here. But for us and for other people of color, it's like we're all just lumped into one thing and they don't care. And that's when the media comes in and then they start, perpetuating and, whatever. So when you say that, why do all the murders happen, in your neighborhood? People are dying in other neighborhoods, just that the media is not talking about it.
Right.
So it's not that, and you can say, well, stats show this and stats show that. Well, let's talk about those stats, whatever. Where are they coming from? So I don't know. But I understand what you're saying. But once again, you have that stereotype that is harming. Go talk to that group over there and leave me alone.
Right. I absolutely understand what you're saying. But society doesn't understand what you're saying.
Well, put it like this. They understand.
They just don't want to admit it.
They just don't want to admit it. They understand and they know. They just don't want to admit it. And there's one thing that I am going to say that George Baldwin said, and this is a phrase that he used in one of his very last interviews that I just love. And this is about a certain group of people. We may not know you personally, but we know you historically. And I always think about that, because you all may be trying to pull the wool over our eyes. I may not know you, but I got your number. And so once again, it's like you all know what you're doing. You all can stop lumping people into one big group. and just leave that group there and put everybody else over here, but you don't want to. And the media is run by, white people, and whether you're on the right or on the left, they're all doing the same thing. I think it's ridiculous that when people see a Muslim, they automatically assume that they're going to blow something up.
Right.
That's just crazy. Or when you see a group of black people, you're going to walk on the other side of the street. I don't care if another, some other black person may agree with that or whatever. But I know that when I see a group of white people, especially if they're young white people and young white men, I walk on the other side. I've been doing it for years. And they're the ones now that you have to watch out for.
Right.
So I don't know. But does anyone else have something they want to say? Chemist, thank you so much for your input.
No problem.
Does anyone else want to have a parting comment? Because we have gone long, but this is what this show does. All right, so Shy Lady, Juju, Chemist, OJ, thank you so much. This is my show for today, and everyone has given me something to think about. Some things I agree with. I do think that the only way for stereotyping to stop is for certain groups of people to admit certain things. But this is where we are. So anyway, I have put my schedule up for all the way through Monday. I'm going to post another one for the 28th. So hopefully you guys will see something that you guys want to jump in and talk about. But again, thank you very much. That's it. That's all I've got. I'm Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk. Always speak your truth, and I will see you next time. Bye. You're welcome, Juju. Bye, Shy Lady. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, OJ28, for a very lively discussion. Thank you again for liking the show. And Chemist, I am going to be doing a show on the 28th about relationships, about people over the age of 65. This is from an article that I read. People over the age of 65 are in relationships, but they do not want to move in together. I would be interested to know your comments on that, especially women. Women want to stay in their own place. Tomorrow I am going to be talking about the Supreme Court. And on Wednesday is going to be transgender. That was one that I was trying to decide if I wanted to do, but I'm going to put my toes into that one. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.